Hello everyone, it's Mike Levin, August 8th at about 9:20 a.m. And I'm just starting to realize this thing I've been passing every day that was under construction is kind of like a new outdoor green space venue. So they're sitting here and what is this, like 33rd I think? Well anyway, right next to Madison Square Garden. They did a little bit of what they did on near stretches of Broadway, whole lanes and stuff, which is basically turning it into a nice sitting space. I guess mostly for tourists, but you don't have to feel like you have to buy anything from a local restaurant or anything to sit down and use these seats. It's really nice. It gives travelers around this area, of which there are always tons, a place to just rest that's not a subway bench or something. So anyway, at this part of the walk, I always choose my way for whatever sort of experience I want in the walk. Sometimes I tolerate walking through the tourists up here around Penn Station, and other times I sort of make a beeline straight for 28th Street as soon as possible, or even 29th or 27th to dodge the tourists. This particular video I'm doing to force myself to get back into the Monday morning groove. It's very seldom when I start shooting one of these for reasons other than I've got an idea, I've got to capture it. Idea capture and preservation and making sure when I get where I'm going I have a clear idea. So not just idea capture but idea processing is an important function of these videos. So when I get into work this morning, I want to know what to do with minimal thought. I do have a weekly report to produce, an SEO report, and I got to do that right away, especially since I'm running late. But after that, I did a fairly sizable crawl, about 20,000 pages, where I used the caching system of SEO Notebook to hold down all, not just the view source of each page of the crawl, but the entire response object created by the requests package. And so now I can do all kinds of stuff like find redirects, but most importantly look for certain patterns that I know occurs on every page, and I have to extract that pattern from each and every page of a crawl that I've already performed. Now, while it is true that tools like Screaming Frog will let you do a pattern match during a crawl, when you want to tweak your pattern and experiment, or maybe change your mind or grab something you didn't think to look for in the first place, you have to re-perform the crawl. You did not cache down locally what was fetched during the crawl. Those files would be enormous. So in fact, the .spider files from Screaming Frog are pretty big. I would actually, before committing to that statement, I should probably look into what they really do save in their native database format. Maybe it's in there. But for the system that I've made my most recent implementation of, the population process as it runs now under SEO Notebook, under Jupyter Notebook, under Python, under whatever operating system of your choice. I might have even inserted Anaconda in there because that's your way of getting Jupyter Notebook installed easily. And yeah, ready for prime time. I'm using it. I'm using it for jobs that I really have to do, and it's the best way to go about it. Certainly there's nothing that has a more ideal combination of powerful user interface, in other words, Python programming language through Jupyter Notebook. That's the killer user interface to information systems. It's just a new way of looking at it. So you got the power of the language and the elegance of the user interface and the ability for any work that gets carried out to be easily packaged up and shared with each other, because that kind of stuff now travels well through GitHub, because these IPython notebooks make it really easy to carry your dependencies around, or at least your request.txt file, so people can install all the requirements, knowing that it'll most likely happen due again to Anaconda. And on certain components that don't install easily under the request.txt system, which do exist, not everything can be pip installed these days. Scicop G2, which is the driver for Postgres database, being the choice that pops to mind, those have to be installed under the Conda system. And under Windows, it's sometimes even worse than that. Sometimes you have to run a .exe installer. So it's not entirely where it needs to be. Things aren't 100% portable, but they're about as portable as they've become yet. And it's a excellent starting point for almost any infotech related career. And I guess that's the underlying professional theme of all this. You know, I know I talk about search engine optimization as a thing, and the work we're performing. By the way, the sidewalk is terrible. I made the completely wrong choice of how to do these streets. Note to self tomorrow. The underlying theme is way less SEO than it is infotech. The technology of information and manipulating information and managing it and seeing patterns in it and running tests against it and coming up with speculation, hypothesis based on it, more tests, and creating positive feedback loops. You know, in the past you might have even called that a spam cannon, but to do it more cleverly and more legitimately, to essentially stay in parity, symmetrically locked into a process with Google, where Google's getting smarter, so we need to be smarter, not in what people characterize as a cat and mouse game, but rather in what should be characterized as both sides maturing and growing up. Publishers need to publish better so that they are long-term rewarded for their superior publishing skills. Choosing the right subject matter, having it covered more thoroughly by better writers, publishing it in better formats for easier consumption over a wider array of platforms with minimal extra production work going in at the publisher side, so that it intelligently forms and reforms for different media platforms with minimal optimizations per platform, but opportunities to optimize, as any Netscape client app manager will tell you. Platforms are important. You actually do need to optimize for each and every platform. You can't just have a responsive template flow it out and expect your web app to be the best available in that category on that platform. So, SEOs, mostly about understanding and immersing yourself in the information flow of publishing, helping people to create the positive feedback loop so that your content gets rewarded more and more over time. But that only works now with a sort of long-term plan, because the big rewards go to the people who are in the game longest. And the alternative to that is, if you're in the game for a short time, you've got to be a smash success. I grab examples here and there. Probably one of the latest is Slack. They got a great domain, they got a killer app, they got the implementation details right, and you know, now they redefine the word slack. There's no misunderstanding. When you search on a word in the English dictionary, they dominate. But not everybody can have that sort of win, especially on the generic concepts behind things that are, you know, not, you know, low frequency words getting branded and repurposed. It's easy to be in position one on those. If you throw enough money at something that has the reality behind it to support it, you know. But if you're actually targeting a general concept along with tons of other people who are trying to get the eyeballs when people search on that topic, it's not so easy. You can't just throw money at it. You have to cleverly get a finger hold in on that search space. If you can't be on the first page of results on the 2 words you want, be on the 3rd page of results for the 3 words that you want. And then swim upstream. You know, you can always do a little bit better than how well you're doing right now. So always know where you're coming in at the edges. Know where you're entering the race, where you're just becoming part of the contest, and see if the upside potential of that traffic is worth it, and see if it's published on the URL that you want to turn into a long-term asset. See if there isn't something that you might need to do about getting a URL that you'll be happy with for the next, you know, 10 years on that subject matter, on that topic. And then a process of sort of purging and cleaning up and trimming and pruning. And in my mind, I call it decrufting, because there's this concept of cruft that builds up in software over the years, stuff that got coded in and never got removed because, you know, why remove code that's there? It might actually be used for something. So the idea of getting rid of cruft, it's also what happens with libraries and software getting installed on your system over the years. It was a very common problem with Windows, and after a while with Windows, during those, Windows 3.1 and Windows 95 days, you just had to reinstall your whole system every once in a while. It was the only way to get rid of the cruft and oftentimes the spyware and, you know, malware and all that stuff. The age of PC zombies. And so decrufting websites. Everything's being cleaned up. Long tail publishing, targeting a page for every keyword combination you think someone's searching on. While once that was enormously effective, today it's just making Google do too much work to index crap. And so they don't want to anymore. So they're disincentivizing it the way they incentivized it 10 years ago with the AdSense network, which made everyone, 15 years ago, jump on the bandwagon, publish, get rewarded by virtue of publishing, reward the unwashed masses of little guys 10 times more than you're rewarding the large guys who are not embracing the digital evolution of the world. It basically beats the hell out of the print industry, the publishing world. And then in response to knowing where the advertising dollars really are, reverse that. Dial down, and essentially turn off the AdSense network as we once knew it. Dial up everything having to do with the evolution of online marketing, integration of different services, bringing back display ads as a premium product that actually do have significant click-through and engagement rates. Be more clever about everything, and recalibrate the internet, clean up the cesspool that is the internet, like Eric Schmidt said when he stood in front of the magazine publishers in 2008. And here we are, 2016, and that cleanup has in large part occurred in the form of Vince, which gave a little bit of safe harbor to some brands. Not much talked about update, but an important tweak nonetheless. And then on its heels, the many stages of Panda and Penguin attacking quality sites and manipulative links respectively. And along comes rank brain and the process of machine learning, and all those old tricks, if they didn't stop working already, they stop working over the next few years as things gradually go from mostly determined by all the old school systems to being mostly determined by the new machine learning rank brain systems. 1% results affected for every month, 1% of results affected for 100 months, 100% result changes. If it's even going to look like the old school top 10 results thing, or whether it goes through some more rugged evolution, the same way like white pages and yellow pages divided. There's lots of possibilities here in how Google is going to choose to take queries and parse out results, present its findings. And we got to be ready for almost any way that comes down. And even beyond Google, and of course these intelligent agents, from OK Google to Siri to Cortana to Alexa. So each of these is a whole alternative user interface for search engine optimizers to think about. And of course, data is getting more structured through multiple different proprietary database, back channels, or however you want to talk about it. All kinds of things which are essentially the evolution of proprietary knowledge graphs, object mappings, definitions, all kinds of indexes built on processes to find connections between things, to speed up search results, and to format the results better, different, and more profitably than their competitors. Google's a media just like any other media. What they do with it is up to them, insofar as they are a public company and they have to answer to shareholders and continue, delivering shareholder value. But they're very much in a Nash equilibrium game. How much money can they extract from being in control of, where people go on the internet? That's oil of the information age. Maintaining that position as being the #1 traffic arbitrator, I guess as John Battelle once put it in the book he wrote about the topic. And the lifestyle battles that are coming up, because people are becoming Apple people and Amazon people, and you choose your services, the things you subscribe to, and it's as big of a sort of lifestyle thing as the GE versus Westinghouse of the old days, where it was just 3 broadcast networks, CBS, ABC, and NBC. The corporations owned each, and they shared their audience and delivered their messages, knew where to put their marketing, and could lead at least the United States as if it were one mind to buy the same selection of the 10 cereals, to shop in the same places, etc. Along comes the internet, choice, fragmentation, and then the scramble to recollect those audiences over new, broadcast networks of today, which are your, Google's, I guess Apple, I guess Amazon, and the media giant, partnerships and associations that are there, so that they have the platform, the content, and the pipeline, the distribution network. Knit it all together, package it up into neat little audiences that can be segmented on anything, any demographic data point or behavioral signature, and bring it back to the good old days of the 50s and 60s, where you could reach everybody you wanted to reach who was in market for your thing more efficiently for less money. But it takes more work. It definitely takes more work, and SEO takes that work as much as anything, because it tries to stay in the free editorial part of the content, essentially to make the cut of not having to be paid for its eyeball attracting power. It should just inherently have eyeball attracting power. That's SEO. Doing it intelligently so that Google continues to reward that content. So you make larger margins on your products, which is access to that audience. Pretty clear, right? All right, off to do some of that. Thanks for joining me. Hope to talk to you soon, and don't forget to subscribe.